Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So as for the Python, we are going to use Jupyter Notebook. Okay. You can open your start button. You can go to the Anaconda Navigator. There, the Anaconda Navigator will look like this. Okay. Here you can find all kinds of data science distribution things. Okay. So there, go to Jupyter Notebook. Click launch. It will open a page in your default browser. It will either open in your Chrome or in the Edge browser. And we are having Spider also here. Here in Spider, we will be using the scripts like Python programming languages. But in Jupyter, it will be like a interactive Python programming languages. Okay. So it will open a Jupyter in your browser. After opening that, what it will look like is so a Jupyter notebook will look like this. Okay. A Jupyter notebook will look like this thing. So before starting the Python, can you tell me what is the programming language? Have you done any projects or worked in any programming languages?
No, ma'am.
So you don't have any experience in programming, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me start with what is the programming. In the programming or coding, what it is we are going to give some instruction to our computer, like our calculator. What we do in our calculator, we will calculate something like 5 plus 2 is equal to 7. Okay, we will give the instruction to the calculator 5 plus 2. When we press the equal, it will do some calculation and give us the result 7. Okay, so likewise, using the programming languages, we are going to give some instruction to our computer. As for the programming languages, there are low-level programming languages and high-level programming languages. We can say the low-level programming languages as machine language, that is zeros and ones, and assembly language also. Okay. What the low-level programming languages will do is, it is a platform dependent. Platform in the sense, the OS, the type of hardware that is used in your system, those are all called the platform. Okay, whether it is a 32-bit or 64-bit, whether it is a Windows or Mac. Okay, so this thing we can call as the platform. Okay, so why we are saying the low-level programming languages as platform dependent is, you can say some of our Android apps cannot be downloaded in our Windows or in the Apple phone, right? So we can say certain apps will work in Android only. Okay, that kind of apps are called the platform dependent. Okay, that apps will work in the certain platform only. It cannot work in another platform. So those are called the platform dependent. You can say the low level languages are platform dependent. So we are having the high level programming languages. These high level programming languages are mostly platform independent, which means if I am doing some software or some program in my system, the same thing can be used in the other platforms also. Okay, I'm doing some program here in my system. I'm doing some Python programs. If I import the program into some Mac system, it will work there. Okay, so it will work in Windows, it will work in Mac, it will work in Unix. Okay, so these are called the platform dependent, sorry, independent. Okay, so platform independent in the sense you don't need to worry about what kind of OS is this, what kind of software we are using in that. Okay, it will work there. That is the platform independent. So our Python is a high level language, so it is platform independent. Are you able to understand till this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
So other than Python, we are having Java, C, C++. We are having many languages. But as for our data science, we need Python. We are going to do our data science in Python. So we are starting with Python. Okay. So first thing, Python introduction. So as for the Python, it is a high-level programming languages. It is platform independent, and we can say that it is a object-oriented language. What is object-oriented language? What it will do? We can discuss those things in tomorrow's class. Today we are going to do only the basics. So in tomorrow's class, we will discuss those things. Okay. So the Python was developed by Guido van Rossum. He is the one who developed the Python during the 90s. Okay. So we can say that Python is a easily understandable language when comparing with other programming languages. Okay. So it's like we are talking to the system. It will be like a easily understandable English languages. You don't need to worry about much of the syntax in Python. Okay, syntax in the sense like we are having some rules in English grammar, right? Likewise, we are having some rules to write the programs in our certain programming languages. Okay, so those rules are called the syntax here. Okay, so to write the programs, we cannot write it like our English paragraph and all. We are having some certain rules. Those certain rules are called the syntax. Okay, are you able to understand this? Okay,
Got it.
so let's start with Python. Let me show you what are Python variables, data types and all. So when we are moving on forward, I will explain the advantages of Python. Okay, so first, let me show you what the Jupyter will do. If you open the Jupyter notebook, 1 minute. Here, let me launch the Jupyter notebook. It will take some time. Let it open. Okay, so here you can see that if you click on the file, you can create a new notebook. Okay, it will create something like this one. You can open an already existing one, save, rename, everything will be here. After completing that, you can even download your notebook in the format of HTML, PDF, document format and all. Okay. So next, in the edit thing, okay, so it opened. So when you launch your Jupyter notebook, it will open like this. It will open like this. Okay. So here, if you click new, it will show you whether you want to create a folder or terminal, you want to open a terminal, text file, or Python file. So you have to click the Python 3. Then it will open your Jupyter notebook. Okay. So if your cell is like this, okay, you can type everything here. If you want to exit from this, press escape. So here that enter thing will be gone when you press escape. Okay. So you can explore these symbols. Save. If you click plus, it will create a new cell. Okay. So this thing will cut and copy, paste. If you want to move to the cells up, you want to go down, and if you want to run the program, you can click this run. Okay, if you want to interrupt the kernel, which means while running the program, you want to stop running the program, you can click this, and you can even refresh this. Okay, you can even restart your kernel. Okay,
Ma'am,
yes,
in each cell will write the syntax.
yeah. I'll show you how
Okay.
we are going to do that. So before that, let me explain what are these things. Okay. So in Jupyter, we are having code, markdown. These two things you need not to worry about. It is like giving the heading and all. So those things will be available in your markdown itself. What the markdown will do is, it is like we are going to write some notes here. Okay. Before started the coding, you want to write some hints like things for people to understand what we are going to do. Okay, that time you can use markdown. You can even search the markdown cheat sheet. Okay, it is like a HTML thing. Okay, it is like a HTML thing. But what the markdown will do is it will do some basic things of HTML. Okay, like adding the paragraph, heading, adding images, link. Those things can be done in the markdown. Okay, with the help of markdown, I have added these things. Okay, with the help of markdown, I have added those things. So what markdown will do is you can simply type here any content. You don't need to use any symbols at the beginning of these things. You can search for the markdown cheat sheet or markdown tutorial. There you will be able to understand what these things are all. Where and all we can use markdown is you have seen that readme.md file in your GitHub, right? So that .md denotes to markdown. In your GitHub, if you want to add any file regarding that, if you want to add any content, you will be put those contents in your readme.md file. There you can use the markdown. Okay, so here I can simply welcome to Python tutorial. Okay, simply I want to give some hints, something I want to tell to the others. That time I can use the markdown here. Okay, so if you move on to the cell, if you don't want markdown, you can choose the code here. In whenever it is in the code format only, we can type our Python code and run that. Okay, so if it is in markdown, we can run that, but it will run. So it will change that into like this. Okay, so likewise, whenever it is in the code one, you can do your Python coding here. Okay, so there are some shortcuts to this, how to add a link, how to add the image, and how to change from code to markdown and markdown to code, how to run this each cell. Okay, so there are some shortcuts are there, key shortcuts. So I will discuss when we are moving on to the code. Okay, so this thing I have done it with markdown. You can see I have used the hash symbol, so it appears as the heading. Okay, when I click run, it runs. It will show it like this. So you have seen the Python introduction. Now we are moving on to the Python variables. So here you can see I have used the 3 hash. If you learn Python, you will be having that, HTML will be having that headings H1, H2, H3 to H6, right? So those things can be done here using that hash symbol. If it is a single hash, it is H1, double one H2. Likewise, you can use the hash symbols here in markdown. It will denote it as the heading 1, heading 2, heading 3 like that. Okay, so here I have used the 3 hashes, and you have to give some space here, 1 space. Afterwards, you can type the symbols here. If you don't give the space, what it will do is it will think it as a simple characters. When you give the space, it will consider it as a, okay, it is the heading 3. So we have to convert this words into the heading 3. So you can run this. So let's see how we can do that. So now I'm going to enter a new cell below the Python variable. Okay, I'm going to enter a new cell below the Python variable. What I can do is I can simply click the B key. When I click the B key, it will enter a new cell here. Okay, it will enter a new cell here. Okay, so if I want to change this cell from code, it is now in the code. Okay, I want to change it to markdown. What I can say do is, if it is blank here, if I enter any key, it will type there. So I want to get out from that insert one. Okay, so what I can do is press escape key. If you press the escape key, your cell will look like this. Okay, so it will look like this. Then if you want to change from code to markdown, press the key M. Then press enter. So it will be in the enter mode. If you want to exit from the enter mode, just press the escape key. Okay, just press the escape key. So if you want to enter something, press the enter one. Okay, so if I want to change from markdown to code, you have to press the key Y. If you press the key Y, it will change from markdown to code. Then press enter, it will into the enter mode. So during the enter mode, you can type anything here regarding the Python programs. Are you able to understand till this? Do you have any doubts?
Ma'am, after clicking B, we'll get new cell, no?
Yes. So if
Okay.
you are, if it is in the enter mode, you cannot click B. If you click B, it will enter B here. So you have to first exit from the enter mode to press by pressing the escape key. Then press the B. It will insert a new cell below your current cell. If you want to insert any cell above this cell, okay. So what you can do is you can press the key A. A will enter a cell which we are working in the cell which will be above our current cell. Okay. So
Okay.
okay. So first let's see what is the variables. Okay. Can you tell me what is this?
12.
12. So now this
Hi.
high. So this 12 high, these are all what we can say is in our thing, it is called the data. Okay, it is called
Yeah.
the data. This 12 high, my name, your name. Okay, whatever it is a data. In our data science world or in the current situation, the current generation, everything is data, right? Even when I'm speaking, these things are also data, voice data, audio data, video data, everything is data, right? So to work on this data, we need to store the data. Am I right? Simply I'm having 12. Okay, I want to work on this 12. How can I do that when I'm doing the program? Okay, and if it is simply I'm typing 12, later I'm opening this program, I'm seeing 12. Why is there a 12? What is the purpose of this? I don't know, right? So what I can do is I can give some name to this data. I can give some name to this data, like the 12 is denoted for age. Age is equal to 12, right? So like the variable is like giving some name to our data. What is the purpose of our variables is like, it is like a storage container. Now I have given age is equal to 12. What will happen is in our system, okay. So in our system, when I run this cell, what will happen is it will create some memory for our data. Okay, it will create some memory for our data. There what will happen is it will store the value 12 and label that memory as age. Okay, so whenever I need to use this variable, here variable is age. Variable is age and value is 12. Okay, so whenever I want to use the variable age, I can simply use the name. What will happen is it will go to our memory, check whether we are having that variable stored in our system memory. If it is stored there, what will happen is it will fetch the value of age from the memory and take it to our program. Okay, so this is what our variables will do. Our variables is like a storage container where we are going to store some value. For what we need to store the value? We need to work on this value. Okay, so in further, if I'm going to develop this program further, I want to work on this value. So what I can do is I can simply call the age wherever I need it. So if I want to do that, what I have to do is I have to store that. It's like storing a rice in our kitchen. I can store it in a container so that whenever I'm going to cook the rice, I can easily fetch the rice from the container. Right. So like that, our variables works in our programming languages. Okay. So are you able to understand this? Any doubts?
Yes, ma'am. Understood.
Okay. So now let's see how we are going to use our variables. For example, if you are having a name, name equal to quotation. So our name, whenever it is in the string in the sense our A, B, C, D, likewise. Okay, we don't want to change that value. Okay, so that kind of things, our letters or else should be in the quotation. It can be either in the single quotation or in the double quotation. Okay, name, I'm giving Arun. Okay, here our variable name is name and the value that is stored in that variable is Arun. Okay, so this is how you have to use the variables in Python, and there are certain rules to work on variables in Python. Okay, here I'm having the name Arun, and here I'm having the name equal to again Arun. Okay, what's the difference between is here it is all in small letter, here the first letter is capitalized, right? So if we write these things in our note, what will happen is we will think that they both are same. Whether it is a small letter or capital letter, they both are same, right? But in Python, what will happen is it will see it as a one variable name and it will see it as the another variable name. Okay, even if the spelling and everything is same, what will happen is it is in the first letter in the capital letter, here everything in the small letter. So it will consider as it is one variable name and it is one variable name just because it is case sensitive. Python is case sensitive. Okay, so whenever you are going to use the variable name, make sure that you are going to use the correct one. If you are using the small letters, it should be in small letters. If you are going to use in the capital letters, it should be in the capitalized one. If you are going to use the uppercase letter, it should be everything in the uppercase letters throughout your program. Throughout your program, the variable name should not be changed. Okay, the values can be changed, but the variable name cannot be changed. Then if you have changed the variable name, like I have mentioned here in the everything in small letters, but in the further programs, like in the later on when I am developing the program, I am using the name in the full uppercase letters. What will happen is our Python cannot identify that variable name. It will tell you that your variable name is not yet declared. Okay, so Python is case sensitive. So whenever you are using the variable name, it should be in the correct format. Okay, and the rules for variable name is it should either start with the letters like A to Z. It should either start with the letters or it can start with the underscore symbol. Other than these two, the variable name should not start with any numbers or any other symbols. Okay, so that is the first rule. You can start your variable name either in the underscore symbol or in the alphabet characters. That is first rule. Okay, it should not start with number. It should not start with any other symbols. Okay, so you can use number in your variables like number 1. Okay, so the numbers can be used in the middle of the variable or else at the end of the variables. Okay, but it should not be in the first one. Okay, it should not be the starting of the variable name. Okay, so if you are having like a first name, I want to use first name. So there are two words, right? First name, 2 words. So if you are facing that kind of thing, you have to use the underscore symbol. First name. Other than underscore symbol, the other symbols are not allowed in your variable name. Do remember that other than underscore symbol, other symbols are not allowed. Your comma, your full stop, your question marks are not allowed in your variable name. You can use only the underscore symbol in your variable name. Other symbols are not allowed there. Okay. And your variable name should be a meaningful one. Okay. I cannot use a equal to 12. You can use it for like you're going to work on some programs. So simply you're going to work on that. You're not going to further develop that into that. Like at the time, you can simply use a equal to 12, b equal to 5 like that. But you're going to do some projects. Okay. So if you're doing projects, like I said, while we are having the Git class, what we have said is not only you're the only one not doing the project, right? So other people will be collaborating with you. At the time when they are saying a equal to 12, they cannot find out for what we have declared the variable a. So your variable name should be meaningful one. Like how we are going to name a baby, newborn baby. You will carefully choose the name for the newborn baby, right? So treat your variable as the newborn baby. Okay, carefully choose the name so that even if you're going to see the program after 6 months or 7 months, you will be able to understand for what you have declared that variable. Okay, so this is what about the variable. So you can have name equal to Arun. Next, age is equal to 12. Next, simply have height equal to 5.6. Likewise, your variable will be stored. So now how to run this thing? Okay, so if I run this program, what will happen is you can click this, it will run this line. Okay, or else press Shift plus Enter. It will run the cell. If you want to run the cell, press Shift plus Enter. Okay, so Shift plus Enter will run the cell, and also it will create a new cell. Okay, for example, here I'm having name equal to Arun. Okay, now I'm pressing Shift Enter. It will run that last cell and it will create a new cell. Okay, that is one thing. And if you don't want to create a new cell, for example, age equal to 12, I'm going to run the cell, but I don't want it to create a new cell. So at the time, what you can do is you can press Control plus Enter. So a Control plus Enter will run the current cell and it will not create a new cell in your Jupyter notebook. Okay. So do you have any doubts in variables? If you have any doubts, you can ask me.
Ma'am, those double quotes will be used only for like
Like
alphabets.
strings.
Yeah.
You can even use number inside the double quotes. What will happen is, I will tell you the difference between string and the other data types. So if you are taking, while we are discussing about the Python data types, I will discuss the difference between this double quotes thing and the remaining one. Okay. So don't worry. We are going to move on to that. Okay. So one thing.
Okay.
So now we are going to discuss about the Python data types. Okay, here before we have seen the age is equal to 12, height is equal to 5.6, and name is equal to Arun, right? So each thing is having the various kinds of values. For example, name is equal to Arun is consist of all the letters. Okay, age is equal to 12 consists of the whole number. Height is equal to 5.6, it consists of the point numbers, right? So these data types can be said as, we are going to create a new cell, so that name equal to Arun. This data type is called the string. This data type is called a string. So why do we need the data type is, so a program need to know what kind of data it is. Okay, so we are going to store the data. After storing the data, we are going to do some operations on the data, right? So do that operation, we need to know what kind of data it is. Whether it is a letters, whether it is a number, whether it is a whole number or point numbers, we need to know what kind of data it is. So according to that, we can do our operations, right? So to do that, we need to know what kind of data it is. If it is enclosed within double quotes or the single quotes, we can consider that data as the string data type. It need not to be only the letters. It can have the symbols, comma, sorry. It can be symbols, comma, numbers, anything can be there. But if it is enclosed within double quotes or single quotes, this variable can be considered as the string data type. Okay, so this thing can be considered as the string data type. So what is the difference between string data type and others are there? If you are going to add some value to the age, here we are having 12, I'm going to add plus 5. What will happen is, there it will perform some addition operation, right? So we cannot do those things to our string. We can store the string, we can change some values, or we can change the whole value of the name, but it cannot do any mathematical operations. Our string cannot perform any mathematical operations. I can even store 12 here. Okay, but the difference is that if it is enclosed within single quotes or double quotes, so it is considered as a string. Our string cannot do any mathematical operations. So that we need other data types like integer, age is equal to 12. The whole number, if it is the whole number, it is considered as the age equal to 12. It is the integer data type. It's an integer data type. In short form, it is int. The string data type, in short form, it is str. Okay, and height is equal to 5.6. Height is equal to 5.6. It is the float. Okay, it is float. So for float data types, there is no short form. You can use the whole word itself. Okay. Other than this, we are having the data type for true or false. For example, if this person is married, true. If this person is married, true. This thing is called the Boolean data type. This one is called the Boolean data type, or we can say whole. Okay. So then we are having the complex data type. So most probably we will not use that. So I'll simply show you what is complex. You know that, right? Real and imaginary numbers in max. 1 plus 2j. So in our max, what we will do is, if we are going to denote the imaginary numbers, we will use the variable I, right? But in Python, you have to use the variable j to denote the complex numbers. Okay. So are you able to understand this? Do you have any doubts?
Ma'am, repeat the last one. No?
Okay. So do you know complex numbers in max?
Yeah.
Real and imaginary numbers, right? So
Yes.
in Python, we are having the complex data type, okay, which can store that real and imaginary numbers. Okay, so what is the real number? The first one, the whole number is real number. Plus or minus, it can be the 2i or j or 3i or 0j. Those are called the imaginary number, right? So we can store that here. But while storing that, in max, we will use the letter I to denote the imaginary number. 3i, 4i, minus 5i, right? But we cannot use the letter I here. So we will use the j to denote the imaginary number. Okay?
Oh.
Okay. So this is the Python data types. So shall we continue?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so next we are moving on to the Python operators. The operators is nothing but we have seen that integer and float, everything, right? So we are going to do some operations like our addition, subtraction, multiplication. Okay, so those symbols are called the operators. Okay, so and one more thing, while you are using Boolean, you have to always use the first letter in the capital letter. If it is the true, the T should be in the capital letter. If it is false, the F should be in the capital letters. Okay. So next we are moving on to the Python operators. So now, so arithmetic operators. What are all the arithmetic operators? Can you tell me?
Plus, minus.
Plus, minus. So
Multiplication.
like 2 plus 3. Okay, 2 plus 3. So we are having plus, minus. For multiplication in programming, we will be using the star symbol. Okay.
Yeah.
That symbol. And for division, we will be using the slash. Okay. So, and we are, other than these things, we are having the modulo division. I'll say what it is. And we are having this double slash floor division. And we are having double star. Okay. So let's see what this oral will do. So let me declare two variables. Okay. Number 1 equal to 76. Number 2 equal to 45. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to perform all these operations, arithmetic operations on these variables. Okay. So number 1 plus number 2. Number 1 plus number 2. Let me run this. Shift, enter. So it produced the output 121. Okay. So in Jupyter Notebook, if you simply run this, it will show you the output just because it is the interactive Python. Okay. You don't need to use any other functions to show the output to the user. If you are going to use like Spider IDE and all, you have to use a certain function to show the value to the user. Okay, so that function is called the print. That function is called the print. What it will do is, it will print the value in certain console, which means certain window to show the value to us. Okay, so in Jupyter, you don't need to use the print, but in other programming platform like Spider, VS Code and all, you have to use the print function so that only you can view the answer in certain window or else the console. Okay, are you able to understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the print function will be useful to show some messages or the values to the user. Okay, if you want to show the messages like, for example, addition value is, if you put it in quotation and add comma, what will happen is, it will give addition value is 121. If you want a certain number or values to not change in your print function, so whatever you put inside the quotation, it will not change. Okay, it will print as it is. So if you want certain things to be not changed, there you can use the double quotation. Okay, I don't want this change. I just want it to show this message and the perform some addition operation and show the result to the user. So that time it will show it like this. Are you able to understand this?
Ma'am, if we not give the print also, it will.
Yeah,
it
in
will give
Jupyter
the
it
same
will
result.
work. Okay, so if I'm not using the print, you cannot use this thing. This quotation thing you cannot use. You can simply
Okay.
use this number 1 plus number 2, number 1 minus number 2. That things you can use. If you want to show some messages to the user, you have to use the print function. Then only you can show that messages to the user. Okay, so if you don't use the comma here, it will not work. It will show you error. If I run this, it will show you error. It shows invalid syntax. Okay, so you have to use the comma here. Okay, the comma, what will do is, it will join these two values. We need something to join the two values, right? So the comma will act as that. Okay, so always remember to use comma. So if you're going to add or if you're going to join two values here inside the print function. Okay. So
Okay, ma'am.
next we can use minus operation, shift enter. So this thing I am not going to change. I'm just going to show you what these operators will do. Okay. So next we are going to use the multiplication, shift enter. Okay. Next we are going to use the division, shift enter. So 1 minute. So then print number 1 floor division number 2. Okay. Next again print number 1 modulo division number 2. So these three symbols are going to perform division only. Okay. So the thing is that shift enter, what will happen is the first one, the normal one. Okay. It will give the answer in the float value format. It will happen only in Python. The Python only we are having this floor division. Okay. What your floor division will do is, it is also going to do the division, but it will give you the answer in the integer format. It is not going to consider about the 0.688 and all. Okay. So it will give you the answer in the integer format. What your modulo division will do is, it will give the remainder. We are going to divide, so your slash and double slash will give the quotient value. Okay, whereas your modular division, that percentage symbol, okay, it will give the remainder value. The 31 is the remainder, whereas the 1.6888 and 1 is the quotient value. Okay, these are all quotient and remainder of 76 and 45. Are you able to understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so next we are moving on to the relational operators, or else we can say that comparison operators. Relational operators, or we can say comparison operators. Okay, what are all the comparison operators?
Less than, greater than.
Yeah, less than, greater than equal, less than equal, double equal, not equal. These are all the comparison operators. When we are doing the comparison operators, what it will give is, it will give the result in the Boolean data type. What are the Boolean data types? The Boolean data types are true and false.
True and false.
Okay, the Boolean data types are true and false. Okay, we have seen here, right? Is married, true or false. These two are the Boolean data types. Okay, so if I am going to use number 1 greater than equal to number 2, shift enter, it says true. So it will be either true or false. Okay, so you know that, right, what these operators will do, or do you want me to show everything?
Yeah, I know, ma'am.
Okay, so next we are moving on to the logical operators. Okay, so what are the logical operators? And, or, not. So you might have studied about and, or, not operators. Have you?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay, fine. So the and, or, not operators, what it will do is, let again take num1 equal to 34, num2 equal to 12. Okay, so in comparison operators, what we will do is num1 greater than equal to num2. Okay, so this is one condition. We are checking whether num1 greater than equal to num2. If I want to check more than one condition, at that time I can use this and, or, not operators. Okay, I want to check whether num1 greater than equal to num2. So and num2 equal to 12. I'm going to check these two conditions. What your and will do is, okay, what it will return is, if these two conditions are true, if num1 greater than num2, if it is true, and num2 equal to 12, if these two conditions are true, it will give the answer as true. If either of the one condition is false, it will give the answer as false. Are you able to understand this?
Yes, ma'am. Got it.
So whenever we are going to use that, if you want the certain conditions, like the age should be greater than 18 and the gender should be male, these two conditions should be satisfied to do some operations. At the time you can use and operator. If I use shift enter, it says true, just because the two are true. Okay, so and if you want either one of the condition you want to be true, it's not necessary to both the conditions should be true. If any one of the conditions are true, the certain operation can be performed. At the time you can use or. The or operator, what will do is, if the one condition is having true, it will return true. Okay, shift enter, it will return true. So for example, I want to check number 2 should not be 12. Okay, I'm performing OR here. So here this condition is true, but this one is false. Why? Our number 2 is 12. So this condition is false. Okay, shift enter, it is true. Just because our OR operator will check both the condition. If any one of the condition is true, it will return the value true. And what our NOT operator will do is shift enter. So number 1 greater than equal to number 2, it gives the result true, right? So our NOT operator will give the opposite of the whatever the value it is. If it is true, it will give the false. If it is false, it will give the true. This is what our NOT operator will do. Okay. So are you able to understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So next we are moving on to the assignment operators. What our assignment operator will do is, we are having the arithmetic operators value, right? So I forgot to show you what this double star will do. What our double star will do is, it will work as the power. 2 power 3. What will be the value? 2 power 3?
8.
8. So our double star will work as a symbol to calculate the power values. Okay. So wherever you want to calculate the power values, you can use the double star there. So now for the assignment operators. The assignment operators are plus equal, minus equal, star equal, slash equal, and so on. Okay. So again, number 1 equal to 23. Okay. So what I want is, I want to add some value to number 1 and again store that into the number 1. When I run this program, what will happen? The system will separate some memory for number 1, right? So here I am having 23. I want to add 5 to the 23. Okay, after adding that 5, the value will be 28. The value should be stored in the variable number 1. Okay, so what I can do is, number 1 equal to number 1 plus 5. Here what will happen is, 23 plus 5 will be 28. It will be stored in the variable number 1. Okay, so shift enter, it will be running. So simply number 1, it is 23. Sorry, 28. So at the beginning, it is 23. After performing this calculation, our answer is 28. Okay. So this is this is where we are going to use the assignment operators. Here what we are doing is, number 1 equal to number 1 plus 5. Right. So in this conditions, what we can do is, we can simply use number 1 plus equal to 5. Okay, it is same as number 1 equal to number 1 plus 5. These both are same. Okay, so we have shortened that by using the assignment operator. We have shortened that. If I run this, it again shows 28. Okay, so this is how your assignment operators works. Are you able to understand this?
Yeah, got it, ma'am.
Okay, so I don't need to repeat this minus equal to star equal to and all, right?
Yeah, same. Similar. ma'am.
Yeah, the symbols only will be changed. Next, we are having identity operators and bitwise operators. So bitwise operators, have you learned about the zeros and ones calculations and all? 0 plus 1, 1, 1 plus 1, 1, 0. Likewise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So those kind of operation, the same thing. The AND operators, OR operator, that symbols will be working in the bitwise operators. As for the identity operators, when we are working on the conditional statements and iterative statements, I will show you what the identity operator is. What it will do, everything will be shown when we are going to work in the conditional statements and the iterative statements. Okay. So now we are going to work on the bitwise operators. Okay. Let's see the bitwise operators. Bitwise operators are AND operator, comma, OR operator. For OR operator, where you will be finding the symbol is, it will be in the numbers tab, like a backslash will be there, right? So there you can find the symbol. Okay. Next we are having XOR, this symbol. Next we are having NOT. You will be finding tilde, in the symbol name is tilde, TILDE. Okay. You will be finding this below the escape key. Next we are having the shift. Okay, left shift, comma, right shift. Okay, what it will do is it will do the shift operation, like moving the zeros and ones to the left side and the right side. This is what your bitwise operators will do. Okay, so let's check. If I'm having number 1 equal to 1, number 2 equal to 0. Now I'm performing number 1 AND operator, number 2. Okay, now I'm running this program. It produce 0. Okay, so you know that, right? When we are performing AND operator, if both the bits, if both the values are 1, it will produce the 1. Okay, the AND operator is equal to the multiplication like thing. The OR operator is equal to the addition like thing. So it will perform all the bitwise operation like XOR, OR, and all the bitwise operations will be performed here. Okay, so next we are going to see the thing. Here I'm having the value 23. I want to convert this value into the binary. How can we do that? Our Python makes it very simple. We can simply convert that number. Okay, bin of num. Okay, so we can use this function bin. We can use this function bin. This function will convert your number to the binary. Okay, this 0b, it denotes it is the binary. If you want to convert into octal, you can use OCT. Okay, it will convert to octal. So this O denotes the octal. If you want to convert into hexadecimal, you can use HEX. It will convert the value to hexadecimal. Okay, so regarding this, I'll be adding one question in assignment. Okay, so we have converted from decimal to binary octal hexadecimal. How should we convert from hexa to decimal, binary to decimal, octal to decimal? What will be the keyword for that? I mean function for that. Okay, we will discuss that. So now let's move on to the conditional statements. Are you able to understand the operators? Any doubts in any operators?
Ma'am, can you show that bitwise operator example, the last
Yeah.
one? Move it to left or right.
Okay. So that thing, one minute. Okay, so when you are giving the values, give 0B. So when it sees the B, it will declare it as the bitwise operator. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do some right shift on it. Okay. Move by 1 bit. When I shift enter, it produces the value 3. Then okay, so whenever I'm doing the right shift, what will happen is the 1 values will be moved there. Okay, so this thing I can explain in the notebook or the whiteboard, or else I will add it in the notes. When I'm going to give the notes to you, I'll add the explanation for this thing in the notes, how it works. Okay, so this is not the part of the Python operators. Actually, it will come in the like COA and all. So if you want, I can give the notes in the separate one. Okay, how this works.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So next we are moving on to the conditional statements. The conditional statements is like we have to check some conditions. So we are going to use some certain syntax for that. Okay. So I want to check some, we have checked some conditions like whether number 1 greater than number 2, right? So if it is greater than number 2, what operation we want to do? Okay. So that kind of things we can do in the conditional statements. What are the conditional statements are? If else, if else, if else. Okay, so these are the conditional statements. What it will do is it will check the condition. If the condition is true, it will perform some operation. Okay, so let's say that number 1 equal to, okay, let's say age equal to 18. Okay, so if age greater than or equal to 18. So what we are going to do is we are going to check whether the age is greater than or equal to 18. So for that we are using the keyword if, then give some space, then end it with colon. Okay, so end it with colon. So here we have used capital A, right? So here also you have to use capital A. Okay. So if age greater than 18, what I want to do is I want to tell, which means we are going to show some message to the user. Okay. So that tells here we are going to use the print operation. Open the bracket. Inside the quotation, I'm going to say, right, you are eligible to vote. Okay. So always remember, if you're going to use these statements, so if A is greater than 18, you have to use this colon. When you press enter, it will automatically give this space. These space are called indentation. Okay, if it doesn't give the space, which means like if you don't, let me delete this. Okay, so I didn't give the colon here. I'm simply pressing A, enter, then it will come here. Okay, it will come here. But if you give the colon, if you press enter, it will give some space and the enter symbol will be here. Okay, what it denotes is where whatever we are going to, whatever operation we are going to do, it will be inside the if condition. Okay.
Okay.
So this operation will happen if the if condition is true. If it is false, this thing will not happen. Then what I can do is, I can simply give print not eligible. I can simply give this. Okay, so 1 minute. Okay, so let's run this program. Here what will happen is you are eligible to vote. Okay, so just because our condition is true here, so it is printing this and it is also printing this thing. You are not eligible. If the condition is true, it will print this. If the condition is false, it has to print some message. Okay, so what I can do is, to do that, I can use the else. Else, then I can use this print here. Then it will not show here. If the condition is true, it will not show this message. Okay, if the condition is false, then it will show this message. For example, age 13. I'm running this program, not eligible. Okay, so our conditional statement, what it will do is, it will check the condition. If the condition is true, the operations we are going to perform inside the if will work. If the condition is false, the operation that we are going to perform inside the else will work. This is how our if conditions work. If I want to check multiple conditions, I can use else if statement. If I want to check multiple conditions, I can use else if statement. For example, age is equal to 13. Okay, so I'm going to change this program into student marks. Okay. Student name equal to Arun. Student roll number equal to 101. And as for the marks, just say max equal to 34, science equal to 45, social science is equal to 56. Okay, so what I want to do is, I want to perform the total marks. So total equal to, okay, max plus science plus social science. Okay, so next what I'm going to do is, I'm going to declare a grade for them. Okay, if total greater than equal to 90, okay, and total less than equal to 100. Then give the grade A. Okay. Next, if it is from 70 to 89, it should be B. And then if it is from 50 to 69, it should be C. Okay. Okay, likewise, I'm going to give some values here. So I'm going to check the else if. Just because we are going to check multiple conditions here, 90 to 100, then we are going to check the 70 to 89, then we are going to check the 50 to 69, then we are going to check below 50. Okay, likewise, we are going to check the values here. Okay, so let's say 200 to 300. Okay, just because if you take 100 for 8 subjects, it will be total of 300. So then total greater than equal to 100 and total less than equal to 199. Then we print grade B. Okay. So next, again, else if total less than equal to 50 and so total greater than equal to 50 and total less than equal to 99. Then print grade C. Okay. Else print fail. So what will happen is, first it will check the condition. If it is true, it will print A. If it is false, it will move on to else if. If it is true, it will print B. If it is false, it will move on to another else if. It will check the condition. If it is true, it will print C. If all of these conditions are false, then it will move to else. Okay, so let me run this. It prints B. Okay, you can even print the total. So total is 135. So it is somewhere between 100 and 199. So it prints B. Are you able to understand till this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So till now what we have done is we have declared the value by ourselves. Okay. What if you want to get the values from the user? Like when you are opening the game screen, it will ask for your age, your name. Okay. So then you will enter the name, you will enter the age, or you will enter the date of birth, right? Likewise, if you want to get the values from the user, for example, you're creating the software and the software is running. So there some person is playing the game. You want them to enter the name. Okay. Then what we can do? Okay. So what we can do is simply you can use the function called the input function. Input bracket. Okay. Then print student name. Okay. So if you run this program, so it will ask for your input. I am giving the input as Ram. If you press enter, it will print the name. Okay. So here what will happen is, here you know that you are asking for the name, right? But when your user is working on this, they don't know. If I run this, what will happen is, it is simply showing the box. It is not saying what to enter there, right? It is not saying what should I enter there. Okay, at the time what you have to do is, you have to tell the user what they have to enter there, right? So to show the user or to show the message to the user, you can use the quotation inside the input function. Then give your hint like enter your name. Okay. So if you give this message, I'm going to press shift enter. It is running. If it is shows star here, which means the code is still running. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so now it shows the message here. Enter your name. So you know what you should enter here. Okay. Okay. Strong. Okay. It is showing here. Okay. So the thing is that if you are going to use only the input, what will happen is, whatever you are entering here, everything will be converted to the string data type. Okay. In the input function, whatever you are entering there, it is in the string function. Okay. So if you want it to be there in the integer or float, for example, here max, okay, give the input, then science, okay, input. Okay. So if I run this, raw, press enter. Again, it is asking something 34. Even if I enter the integer value there, it will be seen as the string in your system. 34, 45. Okay. So if I want it to be in the integer or the float format, what I can use, I can convert it into the integer by using the function int. Okay, how we can use this? We can put this input function inside our integer function. Okay, so inside the integer function, we can put our input function. What will happen is, whenever the user entering the value, the string value will be converted into the int. Okay, so why we are converting is that I already told you. Okay, with the string we cannot perform any mathematical operations. To perform mathematical operations should either be in the integer or should be in the float. Okay, so that we have to convert it. Okay, so if you want to convert to float, you can use the keyword float. Okay, then float function. Then the values will be converted to the float. Okay, then you can perform the operations there. Are you able to understand this? Any doubts?
Understood, ma'am.
Okay. So next we are moving on to the iterative statements. Okay, next we are moving on to the iterative statements. What is iterative?
Something which is repeating.
Something which is repeating. It will be going on in a circle. Okay. So
Yeah.
here I'm having the student name Max Science, right? What will happen is when I'm running this program, what will happen is it will be run for only one time. So I can enter the details of only one student. Right, I'm having the class which consists of the nearly 10 students or 12 students. I want to repeatedly enter the student name, max, science, everything, and do some operation. Okay. So for example, if it is like total equal to max plus science, then print total. I'm having the program like this. I'm having a program like this. Okay. So what I want is I wanted to perform the same thing for some at least 10 students or 5 students. Okay. I wanted to perform continuously for certain number of students. The certain operations should be performed repeatedly. So that what I can do is I can use the iterative statements. In Python, we are having two types of iterative statements. One is for, another one is while. First, let me show you the for one. Okay. For loop. The syntax for loop is for I in range of start value you have to give here, stop value you have to give here, and step value you have to give here, and you have to end it with colon. Okay. So what it means is that we are going to do some operation and we are going to give the start value for that. It can, if you don't give the start value, it will start with 0. Always remember that if you don't give the start value, it will start with 0. Or else, if you're going to give the start value, like you can give whatever you want. Okay. So here this I denotes a variable. You can use I or you can use any other meaningful variable there. Okay, this is the syntax for your for loop. This stop value, if I want it to start from 1 and stop to 10, it will stop at 10. Okay, at the 10th point, it will not perform the operation inside the for loop. Okay, then step value, how we are going to increment the value? I'm starting with 1. I want to jump it to 3. I want to skip it to 2. Okay. So what I can do is I can use the step. It will increment or decrement the value. Whether if you want to increment by 2, if you want to decrement to -2, it will perform that operation. That is what your step value will do. Okay. So let me show you. So I'm going to use this program. Then for using student in range, I'm starting the value 1 and I want to enter the student of 3 students details. Okay, so I'm stopping it at 4. Okay, so I'm declaring it at 4. So at the 4th point, the operation will not perform, right? So it will stop at 3. So I'm giving the 4 here. As for the step value, I don't want to skip any numbers, so I'm giving 1. Okay, so the step value, what will happen is 1 plus 1, 2. Then 2 plus 1, 3. 3 plus 1, 4. Likewise, it will increment the value. If you don't give the step value, the default value is 1. If you don't give the step value, the default value is 1. Okay. Then don't forget to use the colon. Then press enter. Now I want to perform this operation. So I'm going to cut this and going to paste it here. These all the operations are going to be inside the for loop. Okay, so don't forget to use the space here. The space should be the even for all the values. Okay, so I cannot give space like this. Okay, it should be even for all the variables or all the functions inside the for loop. Okay, it should be the 8 spaces or 1 tab. Don't forget that it should be 1 tab or 8 spaces. Now I'm running this program. So it asks for name. So I'm giving the name Ram. Then it for marks 67, 78. It prints the value for Ram. Then again it asking. So when it is asking for this, when it is performing here, the student range is 1. Now, when it is goes to here, what will happen is it has stepped into another one. So at this time, the start value has changed to 2. Okay. Now I'm entering Arun. Sorry. I have entered 768. It's okay. Then I'm changing it to another one. Now the name should be Ravi. 67, 45. Okay. So with this, it stops. Our for loop stopped at the 3rd iteration. Okay. So always remember, whatever number you are giving here, at this value, it will stop the operation. So the 4th iteration will not happen. The iteration will be stopped before the stop value. If it is 4, it will stop at 3. If it is 10, it will stop at 9. Okay. So are you able to understand this for loop? Any doubts?
Ma'am, if we want to skip 2, then what the step value should be?
You can give step value as 2. Okay. Then press enter.
Okay, like if we have like 6 students,
Okay.
if we are giving step value as 2,
Okay.
then after first result it will give 3rd, and
Yeah.
after 3rd it will give 5th.
Yeah.
Is
And
it
it will
correct?
not perform 6. Yeah, correct.
Okay.
So
Okay,
then,
fine.
for example, if you you don't want the student value of 2, when it comes to 2, it should stop there. You can use the break and continue. We will discuss that in the next class. Okay. So are you able to understand till now?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.